Okay, Chris, ready? Everyone, welcome to part two of the Ask Club Candidate Forum. Just like every election year, I mentioned this yesterday. We host, the community center serves as the host for the Ask Club Candidate Forum. This year, we had to do it virtually on Zoom, but we are just as proud and as welcoming and grateful for all they give to this wonderful community. So without further ado, Terry, take it away.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Terry Scott Bondinato, and I welcome everyone back to the Key Biscayne Candidate Forum via Zoom. Today is our second day and final day to meet the candidates. I would like to personally thank the Ask Club, active seniors on the Key, for sponsoring this forum, and the respective staffs of the Key Biscayne Community Center and the Key Biscayne Community Foundation for making today possible. There are 10 candidates running for the 3 seats on the Key Biscayne Village Council. It has been decided to separate the candidates into 2 groups of 5 each in order to give sufficient time for each candidate within the 1-hour time frame. Yesterday, you met the first group of 5 candidates, and today you will meet the final group of 5 candidates. This is a forum, not a debate. The rules of the forum have been predetermined and agreed to by all the candidates participating. First, each candidate will be given an opportunity for a 3-minute introduction of themselves and why they are running for Village Council. Second, each candidate will be asked questions that have been previously sent in by Ask Club membership. All these questions have been supplied to the candidates in advance of today. They are the same questions as yesterday. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer each of these questions with a 30-second warning. The system will silence your mic at the end of 2 minutes. Candidates, please refrain from discussing other candidates' views, and we will ask as many questions as time allows. The candidates will start in alphabetical order and rotate with each subsequent question. So we begin with candidate Jennifer Allegra. The question is, the general obligation bond, in favor or opposed? Please no conversation regarding this question, only a simple yes or no. Candidate Allegra.
I just want to say good afternoon to everyone. I want to thank Roxy and the active seniors for hosting this forum and caring so much about the community that they're volunteering their time by being engaged and tuning in. I know this program is not going to be as exciting as Friday Night Bingo because I know there's no wine, but I hope that it'll at least be informative too. I also want to thank the Ask Club and their organizers for all the good work they're doing in the community during the pandemic. I think the abundance of senior programming is inspiring and it's critical both for seniors' mental and physical health. I contrast that to my own grandmother's situation that doesn't have an Ask Club in Brooklyn, New York, and due to her current health condition, she's unable to really connect with her peers, so she's just stuck in the house. So for that, I'm appreciative of everything that Ask does. And I'm sorry to be long-winded, but to answer your question, I'm absolutely opposed to the bond. This bond, this time.
Terry?
Thank you very much, but for the future, could each candidate just leave it simplified to yes or no answer?
What about the introduction?
Yeah, the introduction comes after. Oh, I'm so sorry. You're absolutely right. Ms. Allegra, was that your 3-minute introduction?
No, it wasn't. I just wanted to thank everyone because I thought that was appropriate. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. Let's start with your 3-minute introduction.
Miss Terry, I'm gonna go ahead and allow a bunch of people in so they don't miss the introduction. Just 1 second.
Are we ready for the 3-minute introduction?
Yes, I just allowed everybody in so you guys can go ahead.
I'm very sorry about that. Candidate Jennifer Allegra, your 3-minute introduction.
Okay. Again, I want to reiterate what I said, thanking the Ask Club and Roxy. Again, I think you guys are doing wonderful, wonderful work. I think what you're doing is so important, especially during the pandemic. And again, it's inspiring, and we need to do the best by our seniors. They are the greatest generation, and both physical and mental health is important. So going back to your original question, let me introduce myself. My name is Jennifer Allegra. I'm here to humbly ask for your vote and also kindly ask you to vote against the $100 million bond referendum. I think that we can all agree that we want to preserve and protect this island, but I truly believe that we deserve transparency and best practices, especially when we're asked by our current council to decide if we should embark on this unprecedented level of debt. I encourage the electorate to vote no to the referendum. I encourage voters of all ages, especially seniors, ask future councils to come back in 12 months with a more transparent plan. Our seniors deserve that. They're on a fixed income. By way of background, I just want to share with you, I lived on Key Biscayne since 2012. My husband and I, Paul, rented for a year just to make sure we were in the right place. We knew immediately that we were in the right place, and we purchased a property at the end of our lease. My history of Key Biscayne goes beyond 2012. As a young child, I vacationed in Key Biscayne just once, and as a young child, I knew that was it for me. This is where I wanted to live. So years later, and after getting married to my husband, Paul, I asked him to leave our lives behind, our family behind, and our jobs behind in the Northeast, move to Key Biscayne. And we're so happy we moved here. We have met the most wonderful people and have created wonderful friendships that will last a lifetime. Also, shortly after moving to Key Biscayne, I started on another journey at the University of Miami School of Law. I'm a lawyer, but don't worry. I'd rather listen to people's concerns than hear the sound of my own voice. I eventually graduated from UM Law School with honors in 2015. A securities attorney and a former regulator for the state of Florida Office of Financial Regulation, Division of Securities. In this role, I enforce compliance with the Florida security laws and Investor Protection Act. Currently, I'm finishing my master's degree in securities and financial regulation from the Georgetown Law Center. I was alarmed that the reason I'm running, sorry, I'm getting a little feedback.
30 seconds.
Okay. The reason I'm running is I was a little bit alarmed that our current council was proposing to change the village charter to increase our debt capacity to $181 million and to ask voters to approve a $100 million blank check. I don't think the process has been transparent. I fail to see why this has to be on the on the ballot during this pandemic. And I think all residents, but especially residents with a fixed income, should really consider voting no to the referendum. I know we're on short time. We can't get into details. But anyone, please contact me at electalegra@gmail.com or 305-699-4426. Thank you very much.
Next is candidate Frank Kaplan. Welcome, and you have 3 minutes for your opening statement.
Hello, and thank you everyone for tuning in. Yes, it is kind of self-evident that I'm asking for your vote, your support. But this is to introduce myself. I am a lawyer. Basically, put it very simply, my work involves helping people to put money together to invest in things, buying, selling, leasing, developing, all kinds of things, restructuring relationships when things don't work out. I've lived in Key Biscayne for 34 years. I moved here to work in Miami from Connecticut. My story about Key Biscayne started and ended at the Donut Gallery. The first 10 minutes I came here, I stopped off, had a cup of coffee, and found a boisterous, wonderful gaggle of neighbors in full-throated neighborly interaction at the Donut Gallery. That's where I need to live. That was my first thought, and I carried through on it, and my flag has been planted here for 34 years. I've been devoted to work for the good of the community during all of those years. I served 2 productive terms as mayor. After that term limited opportunity ended, I served the rest of the 4 years that were allotted to me on the council, 3 of those 4 years serving as vice mayor, being elected by my peers to that post. I've represented the community across the bridge in Tallahassee. I have served outside of public office in all kinds of jobs, chairing master plan pre-incorporation and after incorporation, the 2020 vision work, the first 10-year evaluation and appraisal report for the master plan, chaired the last ZORC. I'm working presently with the council on the zoning updates and review that build upon the last ZORC. I chaired the Land Acquisition Committee, served on the Art and Public Places Board. I served as the chairman of the board of the Youth Council initially. I've served presently as the president of the Historical Society, which I love. I serve as the advocacy chair on the chamber board presently. I serve for St. Christopher Montessori School presently on the school committee. I've been involved with the Village of Empathy and Citizen Scientist program and those
30 seconds
program. My early interest in planning in Key Biscayne bore some fruit because I met Gina. Again, thanks to Betty Sim Conroy for that 37 years ago. We were married at her family's homestead on Harbor Drive. Our daughter Kaylin grew up here. I'm running because I think I can help where help is needed. And lastly, I just about 4 months ago got my Medicare certificate. So big move since the last one that was like that was my draft card a long time ago. Thank you.
Candidate Armando Chappelli, welcome. And you have 3 minutes for your opening statement.
Good morning, and thank you. Thank you very much for this opportunity to introduce myself to many of you and perhaps visit with old friends as well, although cybernetically, no, I don't think that's correct. I came to Key Biscayne in 1960 and have been coming here ever since. In 64, I left for college in New Orleans, Louisiana, where I got started at Loyola with my international relations work. And then I moved to New York City, where I graduated from Hunter College. I just want to get through the resume so that I can get to the good part. I continued my education at Georgetown University in Washington, D.C., where I received a master's degree, completed my PhD work, had everything, including a dissertation topic, and Jean Kirkpatrick was going to be my dissertation mentor, and ran out of money. So I went to work in consulting and decided to start my company instead of becoming an academic. In 1979, I founded the Washington Consulting Group, aviation technology focused company. Every time any one of you flies, I'm sorry to advise you that you are in my hands, because we trained all the air traffic controllers in the United States for about 38 years. You're safe, I promise you. Subsequently, in Washington, I also founded El Tiempo Latino newspaper to serve the rather large and growing Salvadorian refugee community from Central America during the wars. That paper was acquired by the Washington Post in 2004. Probably the best such newspaper in the country. I moved from DC to Key Biscayne in the year 2000 for family reasons, and became very much in love with the place, as I always had been. I'm running for council because I want to protect the majority of the citizens of Key Biscayne, the residents,
30 seconds.
The taxpayers who are at present being sold a bill of goods with this GO bond, which obligates you for 30 years to pay $100 million that somebody else will decide upon whenever they feel like it, however they feel like it. I oppose the bond. I'm here to try to protect you and to share with you the experiences of our transition from youth to where we are now. I am not a spring chicken. I'm the only one, other than Mr. Kaplan, who's not among the candidates.
Thank you. Candidate Louisa Conway, welcome. And you have 3 minutes for your opening statement.
Thank you to the Ask Club for this wonderful invitation to present myself to you. I am Louisa Lincoln Conway, and I'm honored to run for the Village Council. I've been a Key Biscayne property owner since 2005. I'm running because I love this island. I love it very much. And I do think that I can make a difference, bring a new perspective to the governance of the village. I was actually born in the Fiji Islands. I went to Tufts University for college and received my master's in public affairs from Columbia University. I'm involved in our community as the Key Colony Board President. I am opposed to the current GO bond. However, I'm a strong advocate of a resilient Key Biscayne, but we need to issue the bond the right way. As a council member, I will not pursue irresponsible fiscal and tax increase policies without being mindful of the impact on you, our fixed income residents. I come from a culture where our elders are respected and revered, and I believe in Key Biscayne, we demonstrate that respect by supporting and funding senior programming such as ASK. I pledge to continue support and funding for senior programming. However, I do think we should explore long-term service options for our aging residents. Many of you have lived here for decades, and at some point, you may need to consider an alternate housing care arrangement, and that should be on Key Biscayne. As a community, I think we do need to help our elders continue to enjoy their golden years right here in Key Biscayne. So I respectfully ask for your vote, and thank you for having me here today.
Thank you. Candidate Allison McCormick, welcome, and you have 3 minutes for your opening statement.
Thank you very much. I'd like to start by thanking the members of the Ask Club Board, the Community Center staff, and the Key Biscayne Community Foundation staff for this opportunity to be with you all here today. I do need to say that I'm sad we're not together in person. This is an event that I have really enjoyed. First, when I ran in 2016, and then again in 2018, when I joined all of you to listen to the candidates that were running in that election. It's very important, even if it's virtual, that we all stay as connected as possible during these challenging times. But I really do look forward to when it's safe for us to sit down together at the same table. I don't want to spend too much time introducing myself. If you read my submittal to the Islander when the 10 of us qualified for this election, or if you followed my service on council for the last 4 years, which in the last 4 years, I'm proud to say that I was a part of the purchase of the wonderful bus for senior activities. And I really look forward to when you are on it again, going to wonderful places. But I think you know me and know how I feel about the importance of our senior population. My feelings haven't changed since I first came before you in 2016, and I think my record is strong. I believe very strongly in public service and civic engagement, and I believe these are the core values that set our village apart from other communities. I am so grateful to the senior population that worked so hard to create this community. My husband and I consider ourselves so fortunate to have moved here in 2012 and to be raising our 4 children here in Island Paradise. I am running because I believe in the ideals that inspired incorporation almost 30 years ago, and because I'm concerned about the challenges our community faces, both from outside with sea level rise, but also from within. I believe in a village government that supports volunteerism and community groups, such as the Ask Club, the Historical Society, the Life Enhancement Forum through the Community Foundation, with its wonderful programs like Matter of Balance and Enhanced Fitness, and of course the Community Foundation and the wonderful partnership it has with the village government to continue to adapt to our community's ever-changing needs. I would like to be clear as to why I've chosen to seek re-election.
30 seconds.
In recent years, I have heard a lot of talk about efficiency and the role of village government. I am running because I'm committed to protecting and expanding the types of programs that I spoke about earlier, as well as protecting the idea that our village government was created to serve the needs of our own residents. As a fellow resident who loves our community, I ask you please, if you believe as I do in a community that prioritizes high levels of service for our residents and for community involvement, in voting this November, please choose carefully. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we come to the first question of the general obligation bond. It's a simple yes or no answer. Please, no conversation regarding this question, only a yes or no answer. Candidate Jennifer Allegra, yes or no?
No.
Candidate Frank Kaplan, yes or no?
Yes.
Candidate Armando Chappelli, yes or no? This is on the general obligation bond.
No.
Candidate Louisa Conway, yes or no?
No.
Oh.
Candidate Allison McCormick, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, thank
Okay, thank you very much. Now we're going over to the questions. The question is, what would you propose as steps to ensure that more seniors on Key Biscayne can continue to live in place? Would you support hiring a geriatric specialist to work with seniors on requirements needed to live in place, such as food security, medical needs, transportation, etc.? Candidate Jennifer Allegra, you have 2 minutes.
Sure, thank you for your question. So I think in terms of seniors in general, they're our greatest generation. Also, I think seniors and veterans deserve the best healthcare possible. Related to having a geriatric specialist, I don't think hiring a government bureaucrat will help us get the best healthcare available, and that's really what the seniors need. Now, I would be in favor of establishing transportation to which is a great teaching hospital, to get the seniors that care. I just don't believe that hiring another bureaucrat is going to help seniors. We do need them to have the best healthcare. Regarding nutrition, whatever you get out of your body, what you put into it. We have talented people in this community who are life coaches, lifestyle experts, nutritionists that would love to volunteer to help seniors. And if we need to hire someone to do it or send vouchers, I mean, there's ways to do this, but I think it's very important. Transportation for our seniors needs to be addressed, especially if seniors go off key. Driving on I-95 is daunting. I'm afraid of it. As soon as I get off I-95 over the bridge, it's like my blood pressure drops. So I can't imagine what that is for a senior. I think one of the questions relates to security. I would like to explore maybe appointing a group of officers to specifically address senior needs, maybe do speaking engagements to educate seniors about fraudsters and specific schemes targeted vulnerable seniors. I think we need to engage our seniors, understand what they want.
30 seconds.
Not just ASK members, but even the members. We need to get more people in ASK, because there's a lot of seniors who need ASK and who haven't joined, and maybe we can do some outreach and getting more people to join ASK. I think the bottom line is that we have a lot of talented people on this key that would love to help. And many of us, especially me, I have parents and grandparents that are not in Florida, and I kind of feel guilty for that. So as a way to maybe feel better about myself, I would love to donate time and help seniors in my community. And I know so many others whose families are distant who would also do that.
Thank you. Candidate Frank Kaplan, same question. You have 2 minutes.
My answer, first and foremost, starts with the Ask Club. I think there's an enormous social value inherent in this question. And what we in Key Biscayne, and that largely means people in this meeting, particularly Ask Club members, have built and are constantly improving on what I consider to be a rather unique set of arrangements for social support, for lifelong enrichment, for the things that keep us going and make us happy, together, collectively, informally, formally, in all kinds of ways. And people on this call do that. So I think I would turn the question maybe back on the people that do that and ask for a discussion about what's working well and what's missing. I think what is ultimately going to come out of the question of what's missing is a question that's later in this meeting, which has to do with that time in life when assistance raises in importance and different living arrangements that have built in a different type of assistance is necessary.
30 seconds.
That should be here. I just think we need to be always focused and very creative about doing the very best we can to keep quality of life, safety, sustainability available for people that are of a certain age who want to be here. They should be able to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Armando Chappelli, you have 2 minutes. Same question.
Hi. I firmly believe that one of the elements that I would bring to council governance is communication, improving communication with our citizens in general, but specifically with seniors who, because of different reasons, may not have the immediate access to all the information and involvement that the village could offer. I would organize an ongoing communications process with ASK and others who would like to participate, other seniors, conduct a needs assessment to identify from you what you deem your important needs to be. It's easy for us to sit high and mighty and tell you, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. We wanna know I wanna know what you really believe you need. I think mobility is obviously foremost. Security, I think it's vital. I think there's a great deal of room in the area of fire prevention and fire response to be studied, and technology that is available should be examined, because
30 seconds.
Seniors who reside in condominiums may have limited mobility in the case of a fire. And I would propose to focus on that initially and try to improve that level of security. We have a great fire department. I'm not criticizing that, but the technology that we have does not allow full security. I'm going to stop. Yes.
Thank you. Candidate Louisa Conway, same question. You have 2 minutes.
I support having geriatric care specialists. I'm going to tell my story from a personal angle. And like I said, I come from a culture where we revere our grandparents. My grandparents were married for 60 years and they lived in Hingham, Massachusetts. I was very close to them. They had 2 sons. I was their only granddaughter. So when my grandfather died, my grandmother, who was Italian, made it super clear to all of us she was not leaving her house. My dad lived in California. My uncle was raising 2 sons, and I couldn't leave my grandmother alone. So what I ended up doing was that our town had really good senior services in Hingham. It's something that I come from the Northeast, and it's something that's pretty general in a lot of the towns. So I gave them a call and they helped me set up geriatric services for my grandmother in the house because she was not leaving. They were able to give us a nurse that came and bathed her, someone that came to help clean the house, someone that brought her groceries, took her on her appointments. And I would drive back and forth from New York to see her. I liked the services because it allowed my grandmother to feel independent and in control of her life. This is why geriatric care services is critical for our elders here in Key Biscayne. It takes away the fear of growing old and having to leave the island. At least that's my
30 seconds.
I'm in my 50s. I don't want to leave Key Biscayne. So I'm a little bit self-serving on that. And Hingham is very similar to Key Biscayne, that we have families that have lived here for decades. So I strongly believe that we must incorporate geriatric care into our senior programs to help keep all our elders in Key Biscayne forever, including me. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Allison McCormick, same question. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. to start, I'd like to say I'm very proud of the offerings we have for our seniors through the Community Center, the Ask Club, and the Community Foundation. I'm amazed at how things have adapted in response to this pandemic and the efforts to reach seniors in their own home. Things like online programming and people to go out and help seniors to get online to be able to access their programming. Also the partnership with volunteers to help with errands. This to me is a beautiful thing.
It's 1 o'clock.
That, excuse me, that's my computer. That in my opinion goes to the heart of who we are. These things should continue beyond the pandemic. We're all ready to return to life as normal, but these lessons learned can and should continue for those who need it. And as I said in my introduction, I believe the reason we incorporated as a village was to ensure that we're able to meet the needs of our residents ourselves. In fact, in the year 2000, the Village Council passed a resolution, and I'm going to read you the title. It's a resolution endorsing in principle the goal of encouraging seniors to stay on Key Biscayne. The result of that resolution was the creation of the position which Roxy holds. And if I could just for a second call out the amazing work Roxy does, I'm sure you'll agree with me that I think she has the best name because it works so well when you describe her, because she truly is Roxy the rock star, in my opinion.
30 seconds.
Do I support the village being involved in finding ways to help residents to continue to live in their homes with a high quality of life, not only for themselves, but for their caregivers? Yes, I do. And future council members should as well. They need look no further than our own council resolutions to know this has been and must continue to be a priority of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're on to our second, or actually a third question. It is, would you give serious consideration to finding appropriate properties for a senior assisted living facility, such as the entry block or 201 Sunrise Drive? We're going to reverse the order a little bit. Candidate Frank Kaplan, you have 2 minutes.
The answer is yes. Not only would I consider seriously a living facility, I've worked on it. I've worked on the concept at both 201 Sunrise, specifically when that property first sold, and also in a more abstract way in connection with the concept of transferable development rights and ideas working around the proposition of transferring commercial square footage to create purpose-made for senior living, residential density that would otherwise not be permissible. In both of those situations, which were study only, the concept was all about living together, congregate living, without nursing or rehabilitation or similar type services, which is not to say that that might not be the essential thing that makes such a facility most useful. So the question with respect to assisted living is, what does assisted need to be? If assisted is programming and life management and mobility assistance and all of that, I think that's rather easy to accomplish.
30 seconds.
If it involves on-site medical care opportunities or rehabilitation type opportunities, of course, it's more difficult. I guess to flush this out more fully, we first have to clone Roxy so that we will have her rock star help in sorting through this. But the answer is I would support this, and I have done so.
Thank you. Candidate Armando Schiavelli, same question. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. I believe that this is an area where we could use the private sector in approaching this problem. There are companies that are dedicated to doing this type of work. The issue at hand for all of us to consider, including myself, is would we be able to afford such a facility? And by we, I mean all of us, those who have the blessings of financial amplitude, and those who are on fixed incomes and limited incomes. And it's a difficult balancing act will be required. Perhaps solicitation of private grants from private sector companies with an interest in assisting the elderly, foundations. The government, I don't believe, will be the answer. I think we need to create a public-private sector partnership to address this and make it happen. This has been bouncing around for a lot of years. And yes, there are people who are dedicated to the community and have served in 150 different situations in the community, but where's the beef? Sorry.
30 seconds.
So that is an area that I would definitely focus on. Going back to the geriatric services, which I forgot to respond to, I believe, again, the private sector, creating a relationship between the village and a local private clinic that would render those services to the elderly in Key Biscayne is probably the ideal model to follow, rather than the village hiring somebody for the next 30 years and having to pay pensions and so on and so forth.
Thank you. Candidate Louisa Conway, same question. You have 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Actually, I loved Ed's idea. Ed London pursued this in June, and he attempted to get zoning for an assisted living facility. I think it was at Crossbridge. So I thought the 201 Sunrise Drive or the entry block might have been more ideal. Although I actually think 201 Sunrise may be a better option, because these facilities need to house pools, activities, eating facilities, apartments. So I thought Sunrise might actually offer a more lucrative location for private investment. It also has direct access to the beach, and I thought this might be more optimal. I actually did speak to Ed about that and said, why didn't you go for the 201 when the council was offering it up to you? I definitely think we need to explore the option of an assisted living facility and get input from our seniors and aging residents about the type of facility they would like to see built on the island. And we need to explore the cost, the feasibility of building an assisted living facility. And I think that our seniors need to figure out and provide the input. Do you want a luxury living facility? Do you want a transitional facility going from a single family or condo to a senior living community? Should it be full service to attend to various medical issues that arise as we get older?
30 seconds.
I think these are questions that require more discussion, but I do think the issue in assisted living facility should not be ignored. And we need to evaluate this living option for our aging residents. It's the right thing to do for Key Biscayne. Thank you.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Candidate Allison McCormick, same question. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. This is such a well-worded question, I think, especially for me, because I already have given this consideration and even discussed it very recently on council. I think that the way the question's worded, it specifically lines up with what I said a few months ago. So it's an easy yes for me. I'll give you a little more information for those of you who don't spend your Tuesday nights watching hours of council meetings. I'll give you the quick recap. I do support the idea of an ALF here on Key Biscayne. The creation of one does require a zoning change, which I also support asking the voters if they're interested in, because that is the way that would have to happen. And here's specifically why I like the way this question was worded. It's, as it states, I agree. I believe the best locations for an ALF would be our commercial district or a multifamily area. The question calls out Sunrise. I think they're referring to 202 Sunrise, which has been looked at. And of course, any development you would look at and change, you would look at the impact on the residents of that exact area. But it seems like a possibility to me. And I would also agree that something like the entry block being in the commercial district would be a good option. And as other candidates mentioned yesterday, the idea of maybe doing it in some kind of a mixed-use building at the entry block could be a good option. But I suppose I could have just simply said yes, but I hope that my explanation maybe gives you a little insight into how I approach issues on Key Biscayne.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Candidate Jennifer Allegra, same question. You have 2 minutes.
Yes, I would be supportive of an assisted living facility. I think it's important for seniors not to have a massive change of life as they get older. And if they're comfortable in Key Biscayne and they love Key Biscayne and their friends and family are in Key Biscayne, I think we should give them the option to move to Key Biscayne. That said, I understand as we get older and we're living longer and longer, we're running into issues of dementia and things like that. And my husband's family, his mother had dementia, and it was very sad, and we were very close. And the idea of she needed help. She probably should have gone to an assisted living facility, but she just didn't want to leave her home, which I understood. So it became a difficult situation. So from a personal level, I don't want to have to see seniors leave their home or leave their comfort zone, because it's important that they have things that they're familiar with, especially at that stage of life. So if a private company brings forth plans to have an assisted facility on this island and it's feasible, I would be absolutely for it. I would even be flexible and reasonable with zoning, and assuming that we have a buy-in from the neighbors around that lot or around that building. I think we've been flexible on zoning for certain things. I would be flexible for this as well. Also, I think it would be a win-win for the village, because we'd collect property taxes and business taxes. And at the same time, we'd also save money because the assisted living facility wouldn't have any impact on the schools. Presumably none of the assisted living residents would have any children in the schools. So
30 seconds.
Thank you. I would be very supportive of it.
Thank you. The next question is, would you support a senior dedicated freebie? We'll start with Armando Chappelli. You have 2 minutes.
2 minutes to say yes. I love the idea of a freebie. I have to admit that at first I was taken aback by the golf carts plying the streets of our city. And the more I learned about it, the more support I've felt deserved that program, and extending it to seniors, absolutely. It's and on a dedicated basis, because oftentimes the golf carts or the transportation vehicles are tied up by rush hour traffic or other things. So dedication is to seniors deserve a break. I deserve a break. So yes, I would definitely support that, and perhaps even enhance it in some fashion with your advice and involvement.
Thank you. Candidate Louisa Conway, same question. You have 2 minutes.
I absolutely, I support having freebie for seniors. My kids use freebie and they love it. I think that it's another mode of transportation for people who are unable to drive themselves, or I know you get to a point where you can't anyway. And so maybe having something like this that's dedicated just to seniors would be, I think, a great option. I don't want to take up too much time. It's the great freebie. So I'm totally 100% all in for freebie for seniors, because I've seen the value of having freebie just here on the island. You see it with the young folks using it and getting themselves around to go visit their friends. And so I think it's the same option should be available for our seniors. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Allison McCormick, same question. You have 2 minutes.
As a current council member, when I saw this question, it raised some concern for me. What I heard in the question is that it seems we're having issues with freebie not adequately addressing the needs of our community. So I started looking into it. And let me just say as an aside quickly, because I only have 2 minutes, I am always available to you. If you see something not working properly, please reach out. you'll find my cell phone number and email listed on the village website, or you can stop me on the street. I would not be doing this job if I didn't enjoy helping people make Key Biscayne a better place. So please, if you see something, call me. But back to the freebie concerns. What I've discovered is that many seniors are more comfortable with calling a phone number than using the app. And in my personal experience, trying to find a phone number for freebie, it was nearly impossible. So, and if you do find it, you call and there's a recording, you leave your information and the driver calls you back. So what I found out about this, I'm happy to report the number is being added to the village website to make it more accessible to find. And the company is transitioning to having a live person answer the phone. It also seems that during certain hours of the day when demand is so high, although seniors are prioritized over kids, they're waiting too long, and that's not okay. So the question was, would I support a senior dedicated freebie? My simple answer, yes, if that's the right way to address this issue. I don't believe it's the role of village council to micromanage every problem. So I don't know if it's exactly the right answer. I don't specialize in on-demand transportation. I do specialize in listening to concerns from our residents and making sure they're addressed. So what I'm hearing is that seniors have needs with regards to transportation that are not adequately being met. And what I'm here to say is that this will be addressed. We need to look into it and we need to find the solution that works. If it's a dedicated freebie, then that's what we do. But at the end of the day, what I'm hearing is that seniors want a freebie to arrive in a reasonable amount of time. And that seems like a problem that we need to and certainly can solve. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Jennifer Allegra, same question. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. So the quick answer is yes, that I would support a senior freebie, especially now where we are still dealing with COVID and seniors are high risk. I don't necessarily think that they should be in the same freebie as younger people taking risk, younger students. And there's a lot of younger people using freebie, especially at peak hours, which is putting the seniors back. So I think we need to go back to the community, survey the community, how much are they using freebie, how much are the seniors using freebie, and come up with a cost benefit approach. Do we need this? Or should we transition to maybe a Sprinter bus where we can get businesses to sponsor the bus? The Sprinter bus has, I think, better air conditioning. I think that could even accommodate handicapped seniors or anyone that's handicapped, whether it be a walker or a wheelchair, because to my knowledge, freebie does not support that. And I think if we engage in local businesses, hopefully if we can get local businesses back on track and get them through this pandemic, that we could do a Sprinter bus too. I think it's more than just going around the island. I think it's also maybe getting off the island that's an issue. And then the other thing would be, maybe we just need it for seniors because they're limited in their ability or physical capabilities, where younger people can walk or ride a bike or take a golf cart. So
30 seconds.
I think we just need to know what the needs of the community are and then respond responsibly to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Frank Kaplan, same question. You have 2 minutes.
Anything for mobility. My impression is similar to Allison's. I believe that freebie is extremely well received and much used. The problem that I perceived a couple of years ago, and I kind of lost touch with status and progress in addressing this, is that wait times were a problem. I don't know how that stands right now, but I would want to look at freebie comprehensively for all constituent groups. Yesterday, one of the candidates mentioned call it an overemphasis on the part of young people, bombing around to get to the community center using freebie and taking capacity that deprives others who, for example, need to get to Metro bus from way down south on Harbor Drive, for example, or somewhere remote from Metro bus to be able to use freebie. The point that Jennifer made about disability and accessibility considerations is also on my mind. I don't know whether freebie fits all who have special needs for accessibility. So basically, anything that solves better for village-wide and off-island accessibility, mobility that doesn't require car trips
30 seconds.
is a big policy driver for me.
Thank you. The next question is, if you received a $1 million grant to use the village any way you wanted, what would you do with it and why? We'll start with candidate Louisa Conway.
Okay, $1 million. Okay, so for me, I think it would have to go to 530 Crandon. I mean, we've been hearing about developing 530 Crandon for so long. That's probably where I'd put the grant money. I think what I'm not clear about is the use of 530. I've seen the renderings for a park space. You know, we've discussed having a senior center there. And for me, I just don't think we're very clear yet on what the public feels. I have a good sense of what the council feels, but I don't think we've done broad-based polling, at least in my opinion, to really get a clear idea of how the community would like to use this. I know the community center has been a great space for seniors to participate in intergenerational activities, but I can understand how our seniors would want some quiet space and dedicated space. So I like the idea of more green space on the island. I get that, but I also understand for our 20%, you know, having some private dedicated space. So I think I'm running into the use of 530 question, but this is how I would probably use my $1 million grant, because prime land space, community wants something to be done about it.
30 seconds.
I do think we need to have broad-based consensus on this, more discussion, and that would be my suggestion for $1 million. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Allison McCormick, same question, $1 million. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. I have to really give credit to the members of the Ask Club for their questions. This was a fun one. I especially liked it because as a member of the Village Council, you don't get to just do or pick the thing you think is the most important. You need consensus. So it was exciting to think about this one and come up with my own wish list. Although I would like to say that in considering this, I didn't think at all about the delivery of basic services or planned infrastructure projects. For me, it was like a genie popping out of the bottle. So I have 3 wishes. I think I would start by planning a safe community gathering that allows residents a chance to come together as soon as we possibly can. My family loves Winterfest and the 25th anniversary celebration we had on the Village Green. I think Key Biscayners need to see each other and be connected again. So I would try to build into the event some opportunities for people to meet new neighbors and make connections in the community. So we could all get together and highlight our local talent. Maybe Marilyn and her amazing group of dancers could dazzle us. And I envision the Rotary Club at the grill. They do such an amazing job on the 4th of July. And using our local talent, I hope I've saved enough money for my other 2 wishes. The second wish, like Councilmember Moss said yesterday, I'd reserve some funds for community groups. I think it's super important. Well, I'm really going towards my 2 minutes.
30 seconds.
Remaining funds I would use for the realization of the construction of a park at 530. I'll talk about that more when we get to it, but we really have spent so much time developing this, and it's time, it just has to go. And since I get to be in control of this money this time, I don't need a vote of the council. I say we push forward with 530.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Candidate Jennifer Allegra, same question. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. So first and foremost, I would gauge the tenor of the community at large. How do they want to spend the money? It's not my money. It's their money. It's everyone's money. And without pandering to ask, I would like to say that I would spend some of the money on senior programming. I am so happy with the Zoom programming. I think it's so important during this pandemic that the active seniors have something to do and are engaged, even though they can't maybe have physical contact with each other. So I want to thank Roxy and Ask and the village for doing that. I think it's tremendously important. So I'm not pandering to you guys, but I would spend money on that. And then legal issues aside, that we would be money transmitters. What I do is I create something called key cash, and I'd give all the residents of the key cash. I would exchange on a 1-to-1 ratio between US dollars and key cash. And the residents could only spend the key cash on small businesses throughout the community. So we can help those small businesses push them through the pandemic. And then the businesses could take the key cash, the government, and get real US dollars. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Frank Kaplan, same question.
I like that key cash idea. Came up recently in another forum, and it's a good idea to spend money locally. It's interesting to think about money falling in your lap. I think about this every time I fail to buy a lottery ticket in a fun way. And I never quite get to sort of what I would do if I hit the jackpot. But one thing about this that occurred to me is, somebody else said this too, put this money in a time deposit and ask the people what they'd like to do with it. You know, we basically do pay our way with discipline. We fund projects in advance of projects needing money so that we're building a bank to do things. I'm not aware of anything that's big, that's apart from sort of the big resilience issues that we're speaking about otherwise, that haven't been anticipated and haven't been sort of reserved by way of fundings along the years. That includes 530. It might not include the acquisition of the parking lot behind Village Hall. I think it did in part, but I don't remember specifically enough. So leveraging this $1 million found to best take advantage of things that are projected to happen but haven't been funded adequately is a good idea. I'll tell you what I wouldn't do. I don't think I would send every resident a check, because it's not a meaningful check when you divide it by 13,000 or whatever it is. I don't think I would pay down the unfunded liability in the pension, although that did occur to me because it's not
30 seconds.
actuarially significant enough. I'm not sure I'd pay down debt because it's not important enough to do that with this $1 million. I might use it as a chip for causeway negotiations and a public-public partnership that are important possibilities, and we'll probably need to spend some money on that. That's certainly not budgeted. Library Cultural Center is a great idea. We have some money set aside, but not a lot. I don't remember where 530 is in terms of full budgeting, but 530 should get done. So it'd be great to have the option. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Armando Ciappelli, same question. You have 2 minutes.
Okay. My first observation is that this is not a far-fetched idea. I don't think at the present time we take advantage of the many sources of funding for this type of, for specific targeted populations such as the elderly in corporate America, private sector grants. I would definitely go there first before going to federal grant or any kind of government grant, because the strings will come with them and you don't need the grief. However, assuming that we landed $1 million from, big pharma or some generous soul out there, I'm coming from the aviation world. I'm very much focused obsessively on safety and security. And if you've been in Key Biscayne long enough, you have experienced a holiday weekend where traffic doesn't move for 2 or 3 hours in either direction. And I don't believe that at the present time we are equipped to handle a fire emergency under those circumstances, because we're limited in the response equipment, technology, and numbers of engines available to us.
30
So
seconds.
I would use that money to conduct a study as to how we can improve by acquiring new technology that would make us a lot safer, a lot more secure in the event of an emergency. And that will transition me into 530 Crandon because that technology requires a space.
And thank you very much. And that is our next question. What is your vision for the 530 Crandon property? And we will start with candidate Allison McCormick. What is your vision for the 530 property?
Thank you. So my position on 530, I think, is pretty well documented. We've spent so much time deliberating and planning, and the decision for a park at 530 was made and plans were designed. It is a decision I agree with. And I'll say, as a member of council, you need to look at the needs of everyone in the community. And we address the needs of our athletic programs at the Village Green. But how amazing would it be to have a place in the middle of the village to sit away from the playground, away from the sports, or to take a small outdoor exercise class? Or how about our dominoes players? Like, would you not like, when you get to the community center and it's a beautiful day outside, to be able to take your game outside? There's no better location for pop-up events from the Historical Society. Just being right across from the community center and in the middle of the Civic Center, I think it's absolutely ideal. I support the plan we have in place to develop a beautiful Civic Center park. I think trying to look past my frustration at this project being stalled and try to find a silver lining. I suppose maybe one benefit of it being stalled is that if we've missed something, perhaps we can still plan for it. So I'm hoping that whoever suggested this question, if you have a specific idea in mind, please let me know, and let's see if maybe we could get it incorporated. But that's 530 for me, I think should be a park. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Jennifer Allegra, same question. You have 2 minutes.
Okay, this is a tough one because I guess it's very, frustrating for a lot of people because of the money spent on it, and we're the dog park and the skate park and the this, and it's still just a lot. I'm going back and forth. Is it good to have a nice quiet space, like maybe some sort of fountain or trickling waterfall, like a place of peace where you can study or read or do yoga? Is that really feasible when it's adjacent to a main road? I don't know. I think we have to really go back to the community, survey them and say, hey guys, what do you want? How much money do you want to spend? What's the most important to you? Also, we should be mindful that it is very close to the community center. So then should we think about having like maybe another building for exercise classes or study or this or that? I think we need to determine A, how much do we want to spend on this project, and B, what does the community want? I mean, we can want the most wonderful things, but at the end of the day, the taxpayers need to pay for it, and we need to be judicious with taxpayer money. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Frank Kaplan, same question. You have 2 minutes.
Yeah, I've been on this project for a very long time. I'll tell you what I did in favor, and I'm glad that it came out as it did. I did not favor putting the dog park there, and I argued pretty strenuously against doing that. I think it worked out well. I wanted there to be a dog park, but not there. I think it worked out well where it is. And I'm pleased that that was the result, because this is important land inventory and better used, I think, either for a park. The park designs, plural, include at least 4 extensive designs, the first of which is a long time ago, rejected for cost. The most recent was in Allison's, I think, first year, and Brett Moss, when we were working together. That park design plan went out to a consultant and is fully articulated, if I remember. The last decision was something that Brett Moss mentioned yesterday, which was a historical element tying into a theme of Independence Park. That's a project ready to go. I don't know why it didn't go. It could. I will say this, though. I presumed on the good patience of my colleagues about 4 years ago in
30 seconds.
reintroducing the concept of a building there, because the master plan theme originally for the village complex, the municipal complex, was a building there. And the idea, it was drawn. We saw it in council maybe 3-4 years ago. Extensive gardens, a very small footprint, connection with the community center as sort of an annex, a better relationship with the Sarah Morris Pool across the little street there, and maybe for a library and a cultural center. That had merit to me, but I think the consensus really was a park, and I wouldn't fight against it. I would get it done.
Thank you. Candidate Armando Shapiro, same question. You have 2 minutes.
As I suggested earlier, my primary concern would be to secure our citizens, our residents from any potential disastrous events. Without that sort of established planning and protective devices installed, we not only do we risk possible harm to our residents, but also a great deal of liability for not addressing it as a village government. It is our duty to identify gaps in our safety and security. And as I stated earlier, our fire department is a fantastic group. The way that the system works, as I understand it, in the event of a traffic jam, things are not going to work out very well if there is a significant fire. So I would address that, and I would look at 530 because it's right next to the fire department as a potential location for additional technology, such as drones. There are drones available that can lift fire hoses to the top of buildings these days. There are no ladders that reach the tops of the buildings, some of the buildings that we have in Key Biscayne. There are no ladder trucks that can help in the event of an issue. So that's what I would use 530 Crandon for. So also, given the fact
30
that
seconds.
I believe it's my memory that it used to be a gasoline station at one point. And I've wondered if all of the Superfund remediation and issues have been addressed in the past as to potential uses for that land. Something to also investigate. And I pledge ignorance on that count, but it concerned me, there's still things that look like underground tanks there.
Thank you. Candidate Louisa Conway, same question. You have 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you. This question, I'm going to take the I out of what do I envision. I look at it as more, what do we envision? And I find the question, whoever asked this, I'm going to presume something here. I think the fact that 530 has been discussed so often throughout the years, and then this question comes up, and it comes up from a particular segment of our population that obviously had planned or wanted to have a senior center there. So it makes me wonder, did you ask the question because you felt disengaged? Because for me, that's sort of why I said, I think we need broad public consensus on this topic. All I hear is I envision, we envision as a council, but I haven't heard from the people. I mean, what is it that the people envision? And this is our money. It's our, it's land that we have to develop. It's land that we have to maintain. So I think it's very important that, I know it's frustrating, but I think it's really critical that, municipalities need to reach out and to the community. We're a small community. So I don't think it's that difficult to reach out and really understand how do people envision the use of 530? And I just don't think that that's a discussion that's really taken place. And
30 seconds.
I look at the question as I want to be engaged. I want to have this discussion open back up again. And I don't blame any senior for wanting that to happen. So that's my response to that. I think we need, as a community, to reinvestigate how do we want to use 530, and it has to be the we. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. Everyone did an excellent job presenting
Thank you.
themselves to the Zoom audience. I just want to let you know we had a record Zoom audience attendance both days. And I want to thank the Ask Club members for sending in so many questions. It's difficult to limit them down, but there were some marvelous, marvelous questions. Just to let you know, every resident on Key Biscayne is automatically a member of the Ask Club. Please contact askclub33149@gmail.com. There's lots of activities. Reach out, you get on their mailing list. You'll be glad you did. This was a wonderful event for Key Biscayne and the Ask Club, and I'm personally very proud to have been part of it. I'd like to give a shout out to Ed Stone, Chris Figures, and Roxy Lohaus for putting this together over the years. They've done it many, many times. Anyway, everyone have a great day and enjoy the rest of the day on beautiful Key Biscayne. Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.